Welcome back to the PulpMX Fantasy Show presented by Maxxis Tire. I'm Donnie from RotoMoto. In this video, I'll give you 4 riders that I like for the opening round of the Pro Motocross Series, 1 that I don't, tips for picking the FFL, a weather report, a race day schedule, and of course, an early look at my team, all courtesy of Maxxis Tire. You know Maxxis Tire. You know their MXST tire designed by the king of Supercross and my all-time favorite rider, Jeremy McGrath. It is the newest and most advanced tire on the Maxxis MX lineup, featuring an all-new tread pattern, compound, and composition to provide the stability, predictability, and traction that the upper tiers of motocross demand. Available at your local retailer and also at motosport.com. Looking at the ins and outs for the first round, no major surprise entries, and since it is the first round, the handicap crew have left the big ones off. But it is worth noting that Webb and Tomac are out for the first few rounds, and a late addition to the out list in the 250 class are Cameron McAdoo and Seth Hammaker, both suffering a practice crash that will keep them out of round 1. In addition, RJ Hampshire had a crash during press day and will sit out the first round with a wrist injury as well. Looking at picks this weekend, starting with a 250 all-star spot with no favorite for the first time in years, I like Joe Shimoda. Did you know that the number 30 is the only rider to finish in the top 10 in every single moto last year, and he was in the top 6 70% of the time? If we remove Justin Cooper and Hunter Lawrence, who both evacuated the class in 2024, that number shoots up to 96%. We don't need him to win, we just need a top 5. A double points 250 rider I'm eyeing up is Ryder DeFrancesco, and he is my lead pipe lock of the video. Ryder comes in with a 4, which seems reasonable with his average finish of 12.9, but you take out a first turn pileup DNF at Washougal out, and that drops to 11.5. He's a California kid that gets great starts and finished in the top 14 in 85% of motos last year, and in the top 10 in nearly half, so we got solid value from one of the riders with the most to prove in 2024. 450 side, the obvious answer at All-Star is Jet Lawrence. That 0 might be scary, but there is no way he finishes worse than second unless something catastrophic goes wrong. And outdoors, there is no amount of handicap that guards against that scenario. His handicap will likely be negative for the majority of the season, so get the even up while you can. The guy I am wary of this weekend is Garrett Marchbanks. Looking at his numbers from last year, he should be a lock, a 1 handicap. The 26 finished top 11 in every single moto last year and even finished on the podium at High Point. But that was a very different class, with Sexton and Anderson both missing considerable time, and those guys should both finish in front of him, and with a 32 and 96 jumping in there as well, not to mention his thumb injury that cost him the last few SX races, just much better value with less risk in the class right now. The high handicap hero is a bit of a deep sleeper this weekend, and it's going to be Slade Smith. The 337 is a relative unknown hailing from South Africa, but the dude can ride. Last season, his average finish of 23.1 doesn't look that great on paper, and an average finish of 22.4 discounting his DNF, but a 22-22 score with a 16 handicap would be a mid-60s day. But Slade finished inside the top 20 in 10 of his 22 motos last year, including 8 straight in the middle of the season, and he's one of the few with a handicap this high with team support from Rocky Mountain KTM. Moving on to the FFL's 250 is a bit of a guess at this point. Kitchen dominated the SX season, and the Pro Circuit bikes were money outdoors last year, so that's a good starting point, but Danger Boy and Vial also bring the heat, so both of them are in consideration as well. 450 side, it is Jet, obviously, and I will give you 5 seconds to take in the numbers if you'd like. A surprisingly cool day on Saturday in Southern California with a high in the low 60s with sun peeking through the clouds. West Coast round means race day live kicks off at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. You'll see the qualifying cheat sheets on both Twitter and Instagram by 3 p.m. Eastern, with the picks locking an hour later at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, with gates dropping shortly after that. My Thursday team sees Joe Shimoda at 250 All-Star, Ryder D with a 4, Daxon Bennick at a 5, as well as Slade Smith with that 16. 450 side, I have Jet at my All-Star spot, Grant Harlan boasting a 6, as well as Phil Nicoletti also a 6, and 7 handicap Shane McElrath rounding out the squad. Don't forget to follow PulpMX Fantasy and at RotoXMoto on both Instagram and Twitter for injury updates as the weekend rolls on, qualifying info and stats and banter throughout the race itself, and those fantasy cheat sheets once qualifying is done and wrapped. Thanks as always for watching the PulpMX Fantasy Show presented by Maxxis Tire. My name is Donnie. May your chiz this weekend. Remember that 8 is great. And most importantly, have fun. Good luck, y'all.